Well, good evening. I'm Elizabeth Holbing. I'm the Dean of Students here. And I'm so thankful that you guys are here tonight to learn about this important topic. As you probably know, the percentage of young people across the nation vaping continues to rise. And we take this very seriously here at school. And we're thankful that we can partner with parents as we help our students to learn important lessons about this and the impact that it's having on their health. So that's why we're here tonight, to work together to help our students learn this and understand it. And so Carolyn Chaudhry is here with us tonight to share her expertise. She is a public health consultant with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and she works specifically in the tobacco department. And I just met her a few moments ago, and she was sharing numerous experiences she has working around Michigan in hospitals, in schools, with teachers training them to learn more about this issue that continues to rise. So please join me in welcoming Carolyn.
Thank you for that nice welcome, and thank you so much again for having me here tonight. This is a really important topic, so I was very pleased to see an outreach to come on over and talk a little bit tonight with you all here about this really important topic. So usually what I like to do is that if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to just raise your hand, because if you have a question, I'm sure others in the room have one too. So I usually like to have this be more of like a conversation than me just, standing up here and saying this, and this, and this. So feel free to interrupt me. I actually encourage questions because I'm here tonight for you. So if there's anything that you really want to know, you just let me know, and we'll make sure we spend a little bit extra time on that. So the highlights for tonight, I'm going to actually describe how an e-cigarette works and what they look like. So there was a Truth Initiative journal article that came out that actually said that now that parents and school staff are actually knowing and learning a little bit about what these products are, 76% of parents and school staff cannot identify what they look like. So they have no idea what to even start to look for if they want to start to talk with their students, or if you want to start to try to talk with your kids. So I did bring some of the products with me here today. I'll pass them around. You guys can feel them in your hand. See how easy it is to hide and how easy it is to just hold in your palm of your hand there, and how light they are. Some of them don't even look like cigarettes. They don't look like combustible cigarettes. And that's what kind of the whole idea behind these products are, so that they look like something that they're not supposed to be. So a lot of these products may resemble school items like USB sticks. They may look like mini highlighters, chargeable batteries, things like that. So they will be passed around, so feel free to take a look. Feel free to take pictures if you want. As I said, I'm here for you, for what you want to learn. So I'm also then going to dive into some of the public health concerns, so safety and social concerns. Then I'm going to talk about why our youth are using them, talk about what's happening here in Michigan, and then I'm going to leave you all with some great resources. So I have a video because I'm a very visual learner, and I tend to like to start this presentation out with this video. What I want to say is that none of the images or visuals that you see on this video were staged. They were all taken from kids' social media accounts on YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, things like that. So I am going to click on an image. It'll come up here. No, on the link actually. Please send it. Yes. Yep. Right there. Oh, it's close. We practice this. Here, I got you. It's okay. Maybe I'm just not clicking. No, I did something, but didn't stick, did it?
In case you're new, I have one of my school jewels.
Something that is literally sweeping the nation. Everywhere I go, it is a whole thing.
Yo, what's your
Today's video is going to be
the jewel sash, you got the mango pod,
The cool cucumber medley.
I got this creme pod because I thought it would be festive.
it tastes great.
Well, you know what I had, Rush? Definitely the jewel.
I got Brody and the biggest bush.
The Jewel Challenge. You gotta hit this thing as many times as you can.
We're doing the Jewel Hot Box Insane Midwest Challenge.
I got some accessories.
Jewel wraps. And charging case for jewelry.
Oh man, sorry, drop.
Ghost stick.
This one is watermelon. It's literally so good.
Okay, so from after watching that, maybe there were some things that surprised you, or maybe there were some other things that may not have surprised you because maybe you have seen some of these images or some of these videos before. But usually when I talk to parents and I talk to teachers, a lot of them are really shocked when it comes to seeing the way that some of these kids are using these products. So as it mentioned, there's a lot of challenges that are happening. Kids are challenging each other to inhale as long as you can, or produce the biggest smoke cloud, or to be fancy with their products. So this is like what I'm going to talk about with social norm reversal, because I remember when I was in high school. So I actually went to a Catholic high school back on Warren in the Metro Detroit area, and if any of my friends smoked cigarettes, it was like hush hush, like don't tell anyone, I don't want anyone to know. And like they would never dare to use it in a classroom or at a sporting event. And this is what's happening with a lot of these devices. And kids are using them in the classroom, they're using them in the locker rooms, and they're being more bold about using them and sharing that they're using them too. So this is a big social norm reversal, where we're seeing that kids think that this is something cool and that it's something that's so normal that they're promoting it on their personal social media accounts. So this is an image that the CDC actually put up on their website. And what I like about this visual, even though it doesn't show all of the products, it does mention the rechargeable e-cigarettes. And then this one all the way on the end, I actually added that one in there because I actually have a good story about when I went undercover to get this one. So, it's just, this is like the first generations, the tanks and the mods, the disposables, and then these are like the new generation ones that have that rechargeable battery. So with the ones I'm passing around today, I have a mix of tanks, disposables, and the rechargeable ones as well. But I first want to mention how one of these works, because it's really intricate about what is actually in this device. So this is a first generation e-cigarette, and they don't look like this anymore. They used to look like combustible cigarettes, but kids don't want to use combustible cigarettes too much anymore. So they didn't want a product that actually looked like a cigarette. So that's why these companies made these products that were more sleek and desirable for our youth, unfortunately. So every device has a battery, an LED light, and it also has voltage controls, heating coils, a vaporizing chamber, and what happens is that the user will inhale from one end, right here, and then the LED light will activate and it's going to trigger a system. So what's going to happen is that the liquid that's inside these e-juices is actually going to change from liquid to an aerosol. And you're going to hear me use the word aerosol and not vapor, because the vaping companies like to use the word vapor, because vapor to me is something that's harmless and it's safe. Like when I'm cooking on my stove, I'm boiling water for like pasta, or boiling like a tea, in the morning. That steam that comes up, that's vapor, that's harmless. But what's coming out of these products, what our kids are inhaling and exhaling, is actually an aerosol. So there's, a lot of different ways that these SIM systems are kind of set up with the products, but the gist of it is that these are the main parts of it, the coils, the chamber, and then an LED light somewhere. And kind of what we're seeing too is that kids are getting really smart and they know that we are looking for that LED light now, so they're actually putting like a sticker over the LED light, or they're using their finger to cover it so that it's not going to be as obvious that they're using one of these devices. So what's in these products? I mentioned that e-juice, and that's a term that I'm going to use as well, but unfortunately it's not just liquid nicotine that our kids are using in these products. 1/3 of US middle school and high school students actually said that they use non-nicotine substances. So non-nicotine substances, I will first mention the liquid marijuana, THC. 1 in 3 youth said they actually use the Juul device specifically for marijuana. And something that's really concerning is that these marijuana or the THC juices actually, when they're heated up, they reach 95% pure THC, whereas if someone was smoking like a joint or a blunt, that's only 7%. So 7% versus 95%. And the THC is actually that psychoactive component, so we're seeing a lot of kids actually go into temporary psychosis, because when our youth are using marijuana, if they are using it, and if they ever used it in the form of a joint, that joint is going to run out eventually. But with these devices, you can continuously use the liquid THC that's in there. Other things that I have been told by kids, they kind of say, I know people, and I'm like, okay, you can say I know people, but they said that they put alcohol in these products, so they're actually using these devices for alcohol. Kids have told me that they have crushed opioids and made their own solution and have put that in there, and so they're also using these devices for opioids. So right now in the US, we are in an opioid epidemic as well as an e-cigarette epidemic and a few other things that are happening right now too. So, it's just knowing that we could have 2 epidemics clashing together. I mean, this could be really detrimental. And then I've also had kids say that they've heard of people who have used cocaine and heroin inside these products as well. So substances that we think that kids would never want to try to use or think of using in the traditional way that those substances are supposed to be meant to be used, they're now experimenting because it's easier to conceal those substances in these devices. So I just wanted to put that out there for you to know that these devices may have other substances in them. And so when kids start to share these devices, kids might not know what's in there, and they may be taking deep inhales and hits off of these products, and kids would fall under temporary psychosis, or if they're using opioids, we can see an overdose happening. So very, very concerning with what kids are being creative with to use in these products. So as I mentioned, it's an aerosol, not a vapor. So this image I always just like to put up here because sometimes people forget what kind of an aerosol might be comparable to. So like a hairspray can or a spray paint can. And if you ever notice on the back of either of those bottles, it says like to store at room temperature, don't overheat. So there have been cases in hot summer months where we've seen people who had hairspray in their car or a spray paint can, and those bottles have exploded. So keep that in mind when we're going through, when I get to the safety concerns, is that when an aerosol is overheated and pressurized, it needs somewhere to go. And the only way out is going to be through, unfortunately, those cartridges, which are the mouthpieces. So the CDC does a great job with infographics and updating their materials. They also call it an aerosol, which is amazing. But some of the other things that are found in here, nicotine, ultrafine particles, yes, there are cancer-causing chemicals. There are heavy metals like nickel, lead, and tin. And these are some things that are not found in our combustible cigarettes because they're combustible cigarettes, so we don't have those heavy metals that were in here. And then I wanted to mention that there may be some times when kids are like, oh, my vape says it's nicotine-free or 0% nicotine. We have sent many of those kind of e-juices to be tested. And 99% of the time, it comes back that it says that yes, there's nicotine in here, or it also comes back with higher levels of nicotine that what is said on the label. So just to remind everyone, these products are not regulated, so anyone can slap a label on these products and say 0% nicotine-free or low dose of nicotine. But like I mentioned, 99% of the time, there's going to be nicotine in that e-juice. And then something that's very concerning is the flavorings. The flavorings is actually what draws our kids to these products because it's those good fruity flavors, those flavors that you can mix and match. And there's actually over 15,000 flavor combinations that can be used with these products. So these flavorings actually have a chemical in it called diacetyl, and it's been linked to really serious lung injury. Many of you may have heard the term popcorn lung before, but the reason why they called it popcorn lung was not just because of the way that the lungs were developing these issues, but it was because butter popcorn factory workers were inhaling the flavorings on a daily basis, and then they were getting like damage that was irreversible, similar to like emphysema and COPD. So the flavorings is what's really concerning as well to us. So I like to put this image up because these are some common items that we're all familiar with, but these chemicals, some of the chemicals that are used to make these products are found in these e-juices. So that's what's being inhaled and exhaled by our kids. So things that are found in batteries, pesticides, gasoline, rubber tires, oil-based paint, nail polish remover, paint thinner, antifreeze, and then also things that are found in nail polish, but then also things that are found in embalming fluid. So embalming fluid is what we put into dead bodies. So just knowing that some of these chemicals here are just a few of them, because there are thousands of chemicals that are cancer-causing that are in these products. So I'd like to put this image up here because if you want to try to talk to your children or any other family members about it, you can be like, hey, did you know that like some of these items is what you're inhaling when you use these products? Because kids can usually relate to these products. They understand what these are. They're not going to understand those long chemicals, those names that like are 12 to 15 letters long that I can't even pronounce. So just a nice little visual that I put together of just a few, like I said, of those chemicals that are found in these products. So e-cigarettes are not an approved quit tobacco device or like a cessation product, so they shouldn't be marketed as such. So the FDA actually approves of 7 medications for adults to use, but what we're seeing is that they're actually promoting this as a quitting device. And we see a lot of the marketing here. Never in my public health career did I ever think I would see a sticker that says e-health cigarette, so health e-cigarette in the same little sticker or sentence. So I also see a lot of times the new safe cigarette or the clean cig, or what Juul does now is they say, you know, like why quit, like switch to Juul or make the switch to Juul, and that kind of played off of one of the first generation e-cigarettes called Blue. So again, another reason why they're able to still market is because these products are not regulated. So they can continue to market as they would like. They can continue to market with the flavorings and the packaging of these products as well. So now I'm going to get into kind of the fun stuff where I'm going to pass around these products so you guys can see them up close. So what I will say is that, can I take this off here? Okay, as I walk around. Okay, so the Juul is, so maybe as I mentioned, maybe you can find it and pass it out. Okay. So the Juul actually makes up, it's going to be that silver one. This one? Mm-hmm. So the Juul is a very popular one. It actually makes up 76% of the market. So I know I have 72, but that's actually increased. So the way that the Juul is that there's a body, and there's a mouthpiece, which is the pod, and then there's a charger. So this looks just like a USB. So the one I'm passing around is actually the silver one. So I used to have pods that I would also pass around, but those pods actually started leaking, and that is liquid nicotine, and I didn't want to expose anyone here tonight with nicotine poisoning, so I decided not to bring them out. But so what I want to say is that there's that space up at the top where the pod goes in. And the cap denotes the flavor. So I kind of heard in the beginning that, oh, we found some of these things that got out in the playgrounds or out in the fields or something. So, I mean, when I walk into work, so I work in downtown Lansing, and when I walk from my parking lot into my building, I always see these like pod caps like in the street or on the sidewalk. So, I mean, it's really easy to conceal. As you can see, it's lightweight, it's very tiny. And then this part of it here just plugs right into the laptop. So usually when I'm using my laptop, I like to have it plugged into my laptop. And then when I come to this slide, I take it out from my laptop and then I say, hey, like, did you guys know that I was using one in the laptop right now? But so each pod actually is 200 puffs. So in that video that I showed in the beginning, they said one pod is equivalent to 20 cigarettes, which is one pack. So one pack of cigarettes, nicotine, carcinogen levels, is in this one pod. So also, like you saw in the video, there's competitions. Inhale the longest. Try to take as many hits without exhaling. So we're not sure really how quickly kids are going through these pods. I've been to some schools before where we've done surveys, a student survey and a parent survey, to see where everyone's at. So if that's something that you might want to do at the school, I can send you guys those 2 surveys and you can see kind of what the atmosphere is like here at school. But we had kids that would say that during school hours, they would actually use 2 to 3 pods. That's 3 packs of cigarettes during one school day before they even go home and put more in them. So there were also kids that say, I don't know how much I use because I go through what I brought and then I share for the rest of the day. So, I mean, 1 pod, 1 pack of cigarettes. So if we have these kids who are using 2 to 3 during school hours, that's equivalent of someone saying that they smoke 2 to 3 packs of cigarettes a day. So no wonder our kids are hooked on these products because the nicotine levels are so high that it's just addicting their brains at a much higher rate. So 1 in 5 youth said that they've seen Juul use it at their school. They said it's really easy to get the products. Before, with our laws, we had 18-year-olds who are still in high school who would actually buy these products, bring them into school and sell them out of their locker or sell them out of their car. So we had kids say, oh yeah, I get them from like the seniors. Or we actually had kids say that my parents bought it for me because my parents said that it was safer and better for me to use. Or older siblings. Or to order online, it's very easy. There's no like age verification. When I log onto the website, it says, are you of legal age to purchase? And then you click yes or no, and then you get right into the site. Then you can load up your cart, and then at the end, if you have a valid credit card, or if kids are able to get to your wallet and see your picture ID, if they take a picture of your license, and every time they can go in and it matches the credit card and the address for billing, and then they just send it out right away. So as long as there's access to someone who's older, above the age of 21, right now at this point, then kids can easily purchase them online too. Or they have like other kids, family members who buy them, or they'll ship them to their friend's house because their parents don't care if something comes to the house like that. So we're hearing like all different kinds of ways that kids are getting these products. So the next ones that I'm going to show you are, so those are going to be kind of like the ones in the middle that look like this, that are in little tubes. I may have taken them out of the tubes. But these are the disposable ones. They're pretty cheap. All of those you can send around. And so they're different flavors. Feel free to kind of smell them, take them out of the container, just kind of look how easy it is to hold in your hand. Some of them are good for like 800 hits. So kids, again, are getting more interested in these disposable ones because they're cheaper to buy, and they're also lasting longer. You don't have to risk of getting caught having them be charged. Because before I started today too, I mentioned that I do a lot of professional developmental days at schools, and I actually had a teacher, when I passed around one of the products, say, oh my goodness, I was charging this in the front of my classroom because I thought it was a charger, like a charging booster for someone's phone or like computer. And so she was actively charging it in front of the room, and after that she was like, I had no idea, oh my gosh, and all the kids obviously knew what it was. So they're probably in there like chuckling, like, ah, she's charging it. But So yeah, I mean, we see so many different varieties of what they look like. This one is kind of a little bit older. It's heavy. I want you to remember what the Jewel felt like and now what the tank is like. So this one, you actually have to use e-juice. For the other one, for the Jewel that I sent around, you use a pod. So it's a pre-filled pod that you don't have to, worry about buying the e-juice. But this one I'm sending around is heavy. It's hard to hide in your pocket. Probably won't use it. I know when I was in college, a lot of kids were starting to use this. So some people stick with what they know or what they like. But nowadays, we're seeing a lot of the more lightweight ones. So yes.
With the Jewels and the pods, can they just buy a whole bunch of flavors and switch them out as much and often as they want?
Yeah. So this other one that I'm going to send around shows you kind of what some of the pods may look like. But what I do want to let you know is that Jewel now, the only flavors they're allowed to sell are the tobacco flavors and menthol. But that doesn't mean that they're still not making some of these other counterfeit ones that from other places, or what I have heard too is sometimes, the labeling may show one thing, but maybe inside it could be different. So we don't know, what's really going to be in there. But for right now, Jewel is only allowed to sell tobacco and the menthol flavor because there was a federal flavor ban that went into place on January 2nd. And that only was for those pod-based kind of cartridges and things like that. So all of the other ones that I'm going to be sending around, kids can still use and still get the e-juice flavorings to be able to put in there. So talking about e-juice, I do have one that I want to send around. Please feel free to open it up and smell it. Just know, though, that this is liquid nicotine. So don't be swishing it around and trying to spill it all over you, because then I have to call poison control and report a nicotine exposure. But please open it because I want you to smell it. Because this slogan for this one here for Rainbow Drops, it's called Vape the Rainbow. So very similar to Skittles, Taste the Rainbow, okay? So, oh yes, there's a little, just kind of like a safety. Yes. Right. So it smells good. And this is another reason why our kids are wanting to use these products, because they do smell delicious. And, now the packaging is very exciting. Pineapple fruit splash, strawberry crisp. These are what they used to look like. So I'm not sure what Cowboy Blend is supposed to taste like, but I'm pretty sure that our kids aren't rushing to go get a Cowboy Blend e-juice to be using. So definitely now, we're seeing a lot more packaging that's more appealing to our kids. So the Soarin' iShare is also what, I know you were lifting it up there a little bit, yeah. So this one's a little bit unique because you can actually put the Jewel pods in it, or you can fill the pod that's also attached to there on the top. So it is a little bit cheaper than the Jewel. The Jewel is usually about $25 now for the starter pack, but we're seeing a lot of kids move towards using e-juice instead of the pods. And for good reason is now that a lot of the flavors are not going to be able to be sold. But these are some of those counterfeit pods that I mentioned. I actually went into a tobacco shop and I asked for some flavors, and the guy who sold it to me actually used the word counterfeit, so this is how they're selling these products as well. But these ones come with an additional pod. These are pricey, $14 for 5 pods. For Jewel, it's 4 pods, $17. So these are pricey to use, whereas the disposables can only be a couple dollars. So that's why we're kind of seeing a lot of our kids moving towards those disposables as well. But I always like to show this as well because these ones look nothing like a combustible cigarette. These look like items that I would never have guessed were actually e-cigarettes. So this one over here, the Rolo badge, very sleek. The back of the box actually says, this emblem represents honor, nobility, and it's elegant. And this would be your passport around the vaping world. So these companies are using language to lure our kids in as well to use them. So, and then the Soarin' iShare, again, the mouthpieces are now being very discreet. This one comes apart on the top, so these ones all kind of pull up on the top there. So, and that's where you load the e-juice into. And then the Soarin' Drop, looks like a highlighter. So I have a green one here, and guess what guess what colors they come in? Bright green, bright yellow, bright pink, bright blue. All of the highlighter colors that our kids use. And it also reminds me of maybe like a whiteout, or it also reminds me of, you know how sometimes they have the flavorings that you can like drop into your water? Like, yes, like it kind of looks like that, right? So it doesn't even look like an e-cigarette. And then the UFO is 2 cartridges actually. It comes out on both sides, and so I put little arrows there so you can see. But I actually went undercover to get this one because so I don't go dressed like this. When I go in, you know, I put jeans on and whatever, and I don't have my badge with me, so they're not like, you know who you are. But, so I said, hey, you know, like, people are like noticing that I'm using like my Juul like at work and things like that, and I want to be more discreet. I don't want people to know. And so he actually had me pull out my mirror and my compact that I carry in my purse all the time. He says, you carry those items in your purse every day, right? I said, well, yeah. He goes, well, look, this looks just like your mirror, and my mirror's white. And my compact, you know, my makeup compact also is circular too. So he said, you can easily get away with using this, and people will think that you're checking like in the mirror, or, you know, using like your makeup. So, and then he also told me, well, you can mix and match your flavors, you can put e-juice in one, but then you can put THC in the other. And you need to know where you can find the THC. So he was already starting to ask me all the questions about what I needed to use this product with not only nicotine, but also with marijuana. So this is the way that if we have tobacco shops that sell to minors and anyone under 21, they know how to make these purchases, and they will willingly sell, unfortunately, to those under 21. So this is another one. Now some of them are saying that they like to put safety precautions on there just for you, so you can be safe, because a lot of these don't turn off. They don't have an on-off switch. So when they're charged, they hold their charge, and they can actually actively be heating up the e-juice. And if the liquid is dripping onto the battery, then this is like a disaster waiting to happen. So a lot of these companies are actually saying that, oh, we have a battery for on-off button for your protection. So I've actually tried to use that button for 8 seconds. Maybe I'm counting to 8 the wrong way. I don't know. But it did not work. It did not turn off. It did not turn on properly during that time. So, you know, it really breaks my heart that a lot of these companies are now profiting off of tragedies that happened when some of these devices have overheated or exploded while people have been using them. So this other one, it's very edgy, and that's why they call it the Edge, because actually it's more sleek, and it comes with 2 battery packs. So their kind of slogan is like, why stop vaping to charge, put in the other battery and keep vaping as you go. So this one's a little bit more expensive, but again, it's really sleek, and you know, you may not think that it's an e-cigarette, what a lot of these products are meant to look like. So just like this one too, this one looks like a mini GoPro camera to me, or people are saying, oh, it could look like a little lighter or something. They come in these sleek designs. I mean, this one looks like really pretty. I mean, the colors and everything like that. And it comes with a lanyard, and they say that, oh, it's for your decorative and portability purposes. So, I mean, I love coming up to Grand Rapids, and I know that you guys have some, you know, beautiful parks and things like that around here. So if I was ever to be walking around Grand Rapids, going by the river or whatever, and I seen someone just having one on their neck or on their hand, I'd be like, oh, this person's gonna probably do something really cool, like with their GoPro camera or something. And I would never guess that this would be an e-cigarette. And if you hold it in your hand, it actually, the mouthpiece fits perfectly between your thumb and pointer finger when you close it. So if you, and then no one questions you putting your hand to your mouth or on your face or anything. So easily get away with using those. Okay, these are some of the disposable ones. Yep, pass those around. These ones are only a couple bucks, and the flavors are denoted on the bottom. So that, I think one of them is watermelon and one is mango, but they're one-time use, so they don't need to be recharged, and you inhale from one end, and then the LED light comes on the bottom. This one looks like a pen, and I think I have this one out here as well. There's one, a silver one.
Yeah, this one?
right
This
there,
one.
yes. So this one, it kind of has the shape and feel of a pen. So again, another one that can be easily used like in the classroom because, you know, unfortunately, a lot of these products don't give off a big aerosol cloud. So what kids will do is that they'll take a hit and then they will blow it into their shirt or up their sleeve. There are also products, believe it or not, that there is a hoodie that you buy and the drawstring is an e-cigarette. So I remember when I was an athlete and, you know, I would have my, like, on game day, I'd wear my hoodie, and sometimes, I don't know why kids do this, but sometimes they chew on that drawstring. I know it's gross, and I did it, I'll say I did. But I would, you know, like, you now have to think, oh my goodness, are they using an e-cigarette or are they just chewing on their drawstring? Another device that is there as well, so this is not one of them, but there is an Apple Watch that looks just like an Apple Watch, where when you turn the turn dial, it actually pops the face of the Apple Watch off, and that is the e-cigarette. The watch shows the time, it shows like battery life, and instead of showing the temperature that's outside, it shows how hot you can like heat up or what the voltage is that you're using at that time. So again, another device that was made to look like something else. So the question that I'm sure everyone is having is saying, well, if these are not supposed to be meant for kids, and if they were only supposed to be marketed for adults, then why are all these companies making products that look nothing like a combustible cigarette and making these products look like something they're not supposed to look like and look like things that our kids in school would use? So that's the big question, and I always ask myself that every time I do a presentation, and you know, it's also because these products are not being regulated, so at the moment, no one can really tell them, like, you cannot promote the products like this, you cannot make them look like that. Something that is very scary to me is that this is something that is also an e-cigarette. To me, this is an inhaler, okay? This looks like an inhaler, it's black. So before I worked in public health, I worked in a pharmacy, and my husband is a doctor, and I called him up when I found this and I said, are there any black inhalers that are on the market that I may have missed? And he says, no. And he said, why? I said, well, there are e-cigarettes out there that look just like an inhaler. My biggest concern is that what happens if someone is actually having an asthma attack and they say, my inhaler's in that bag. And let's say there's many bags around, if you know you're playing sports games or whatever, or you're outside. What happens if teacher or parent or other student goes into another bag and they pull out this instead of the inhaler, and this is given to the child to use? I mean, this would be a disaster. Like, I could only imagine what would happen. Hopefully they would be able to make the switch back to, the proper inhaler, but these are things that are out there, and it's very, very scary. There's other ones that are meant just for marijuana, like a zigzag. I actually have a Snoop Dogg here today because he got in on the game too, and he did an e-cigarette as well. So, I mean, there's so many. There are so many that are out there. So, I know in the beginning too, we mentioned, oh, these numbers are so high, like what is happening? Why are, all of our kids using this? But in 2018, our U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Adams, who he's amazing, and I've seen him speak because I was fortunate enough to present at our National Tobacco Health Conference in Minneapolis this year, so I was able to go there. And he was a keynote speaker one morning, and he's so passionate about this topic. He is so passionate about our youth because he has kids that are school age, just like yours. So he saw the spike, and he said, he declared it a public health epidemic. So between the year of 2017-2018 school year, 78% rate increase among high school students. 78%. So as an epidemiologist or evaluator or anyone who's doing surveillance, even seeing a 1% increase of anything that's happening, they're concerned. So seeing this 78 in high school and 48 in middle school, because believe it or not, our middle schoolers are using it, And I've actually had a prevention specialist when I was doing the training say, I'm so sorry, I have to leave the training because I got called from the school and a second grader was caught using one of these products and I have to go take care of this. So this is getting as low into our elementary school as well, which is really, really scary. But so 2019 data showing the same thing, another 7% rate of increase happening between 2018-2019 school year. And then, so from 2017 to 19, our numbers have really doubled. And so this is kind of a visual I like to use because it shows that 6.2 million U.S. and high school students within the past 30 days of taking the survey are actually using some form of tobacco. So I think these numbers might actually be a little higher because how truthful maybe are some kids with these surveys? They may think, oh my gosh, I know it says anonymous, but what happens if someone can link it back to me and they know that I've been using it? So, 27.5% of any tobacco use, so this is kind of how you want to read it. There's 31.2% of tobacco use, and then all of these kind of block out from there too. So they tried to take the percentages of what the overall one was. So, I mean, the numbers are low for everything else. Single digits, yay, that's great, but now we're seeing this huge spike with e-cigarettes. So I did bring some information on hookah here today as well. So I'm not sure if there's any more hookah lounges or bars in the Grand Rapids area. I think there may be a few, or maybe in the surrounding area. But what I want to let you know is that a 1 hour of hookah is equivalent to 200 cigarettes. Okay? So if you have people who are like, oh, I don't smoke, I don't do this, but I do hookah, that's also another thing to talk about because, I mean, that's a lot of, the nicotine, the carcinogens, and the toxins and stuff like that as well. So, I had a few percentages by county, and I have a bigger list as well if you guys are interested. So this is kind of older data, and I know it might be a little hard to see, but in Kent County, we saw 44% rate increase between 16 and 17-18 school year. All counties are really increasing. I've seen some counties that are above 109%, so we're seeing it everywhere. And so what I'm trying to show here is just, I took some counties that are everywhere across the state. So I'm showing you that it's not just in one place, it's everywhere across our state. So just again, another little infographic that I love that the CDC puts out, and one thing that I want to point out for everyone here is this one column here on your far right is help prevent youth using these products. Know the risks, talk to your kids, and try to be tobacco free. So, these are some really good things that we need to discuss here, with our school campus and things like that. If we are a comprehensive tobacco-free campus, which means no form of tobacco at all can be used indoors within any of the campus grounds, or even on transportation or games as well. So I mentioned before too that the adolescent brain is more likely to get nicotine addiction the earlier one starts, because we have there's synapses in different parts of the brain that are forming, and this is the most vulnerable time. And the human brain does not mature until age 25, 26. So we're seeing a ton of kids heavily addicted. And then some of these other kind of problems that we're seeing, attention and learning, lower impulse, or mood disorders. So I know it's hard because some of these things are normal for our teenagers, and it's like, how do I tell? But this is where you want to talk to your kids and really talk to students here at the school as well. Because there's a lot of common myths out there, and I'm sure your kids have heard everything. It's just water vapor. It's just flavoring. My vape says it's nicotine-free. I won't become addicted. Or I don't have an addictive personality, so I won't get hooked on using them. Or they think that nicotine's not bad for them. Or they say, just because I vape, I'm not going to use, I'm not going to use cigarettes. But with the short data and the research that we had, it shows that kids are actually more likely to try smoking later on in life as well. So these risks and why, the rise, I kind of mentioned a lot of these, so I won't spend too much time, going through it again. But what I really wanted to catch your attention on again were all of those flavorings. So these are just some of them that I like to put up here because these are actual flavors that are out there. when I was a kid, I would chase after the ice cream truck for that like boom boom popsicle. So like for someone who loves like ice cream trucks or things like that and sees these flavorings, they're probably like, oh yeah, like I want to try this one because of, and they remember like a childhood memory or something like that. So lots and lots and lots of flavors that are here. So I mentioned a little bit about the flavorings, how the FDA wants to try to do a little bit of some restrictions with that. So they did start back in 2015 saying they want to restrict them except for mint and menthol. But then on January 2nd, there was enforcement with the flavored cartridges or those pods. However, the tobacco flavor and menthol flavors can still be sold. But then we have kids that bedazzle their products, they make it really trendy. So there's like decals and there's all this other kind of stuff that kids can put on here so that they make it like personalized and they make it their own. Again, another thing that I'm not sure too many adults might want to do Hello Kitty and bedazzle their things. Yes, I like to have my cell phone having some like little cute cover, but I mean, not like to the extent of like bedazzling the whole side. But social media is a huge thing, and just like I showed in the video in the beginning, they used to do a lot of campaign ads, and they used to be very selective with who they used to use. So they can't be on social media anymore, but that's okay, because they don't need to be on social media anymore, because they have our youth to do it for them. Before I came in here today, I did hashtag vaping, 9 million posts, just with someone posting a picture and then hashtag vaping. And then we have celebrities, we have athletes, models, influencers. They all will post pictures of themselves using these products. So our kids are like, oh my gosh, like these are people I look up to. If they're using these products and they're being successful, then I should be able to use these products and be successful too. So, they're really luring in our kids in so many different ways. These are just some of the ads that Juul used to have, really colorful, using models that might be attractive, talking about the flavors, limited edition, so this is what they used to do a lot. So, Mondays don't need to be hard. I think we can all relate with Mondays, but they're also playing into, escape with a Juul moment, so they're just, again, trying to get anyone to relate to their ads. All right, this is super serious because this is happening in our schools. I know sometimes I kind of like chuckle at some of these pictures, but they're like super serious because these are actual Snapchat and Instagram posts. So this is Snapchat of someone that said, I can't stand it when people pee in the Juul room because kids are using the bathrooms now to use these products at school. They're not using them like in the hallways or in class. They're actually going to the bathroom using their hall pass. Sometimes kids will share products, so there's one device that's taped somewhere in the bathroom where kids know where to find it, and if you're sharing with a certain group, you know where to put it back up. So this one says, again, like I can't stand it when people pee in the Juul room. I actually had one kid say that he was using it, dropped it in the toilet, picked it up, shook it off, and then taped it back up, okay? So that's really gross, but then that device is wet, and the next person to use it also is going to have a device that's wet that could possibly, do burns or blow up. But then we have to also think about communicable diseases now because we have kids sharing and they're putting these devices in their mouth and they're sharing these with everybody. This one, high school bathrooms, jewelers, people who actually have to go to the bathroom. So this is the thing. No idea why their tongues are turning different colors. And I was like, oh, I know why. And it's because these products are heated up so hot that it's burning off the taste buds of people who are using these products. Okay? So, and then, we've seen disorientation, seizures, and then we've seen the lung injury, and now, unfortunately, there have been many deaths with related to people using these products. So, a lot of people reported said that they were using THC, they were using nicotine, they were using both, they were using one or the other, but health officials and the CDC, they have not determined exactly what one specific substance was related and caused to this outbreak. So I know this data is a little bit lag behind, but the CDC used to update every Thursday. Now they're kind of slowing down their reporting. but these are only the hospitalized cases. So 2,807 hospitalized cases as of February 18th. And these numbers started being collected as of like mid-June of this year. So June to February, these are the numbers. They used to do all cases, but it was getting so big that they said they could only continue to track hospitalized cases. It's found everywhere in all 50 states and in our territories. There have been 68 deaths in 29 states. And here in Michigan, we've had 4 deaths and 75 identified cases of this EVALI, which is called the e-cigarette vaping associated lung injury. So again, them calling it EVALI, to me, it doesn't really tell me what it is and what's causing it, but we have to call it something, so why not call it what the products are called in a lung injury? So again, like the symptoms again are, it's kind of difficult because we are in flu season and some of these symptoms may be what we see the flu. But the big giveaway is a lot of the times people are saying they're having the respiratory problems, the cough, the shortness of breath, the chest pain, and like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, fear, fatigue, which I know some of these symptoms are very similar to something else that we need to be watching out for. So it can be very confusing. But the giveaway is that if someone has been using one of these products within, a few days or a week or whatever, because some people say that they used the device one time and they're hospitalized. Others say they used it for a week or a year. We had the young teenager who was hospitalized here in Michigan. He was an athlete, good student, 17, 18 years old, and he actually had that double lung transplant because of this outbreak. His lungs were rock solid hard because air could not reach into his lungs. Now he's actually an advocate and speaking out as much as he can, go around talking about it. So he talks to schools and all these advocacy events about this problem. So I will wrap up with some safety concerns and some resources. This is a middle console of a car. Someone was charging a device in the car and it actually exploded in the vehicle. There's been fires, poisonings, hazardous waste and litter, many things that have been reported with these products. And one of those are the nicotine toxicity and poisoning. So this number is a very important poison. This is a poison control number. I really want everyone to either try to remember this number or know that this is the number that you have to call. I'm sure at school we probably have it somewhere in the nurse station or somewhere where kids would go if they're not feeling well. But just to have this number, it is so important because last year there were 4 middle schoolers in Lapeer County here in Michigan who actually had seizures in class because they were having nicotine toxicity. And the teacher called EMS and they came and had to rush them to the emergency room. Because less than 1/4 of a teaspoon of liquid nicotine is fatal for a 50-pound child. And imagine when we also have our infants and toddlers who do a lot of time on the ground and these outlets are so low, right? And so when someone plugs in, it's going to be resting on the ground. And if kids smell these delicious flavors, they're going to put it in their mouth, they're going to chew it on it, or, worst case scenario, actually drink right from that e-juice bottle. Because, we're seeing numbers increase drastically since, 2013, because these devices started coming around in 2010, but, they didn't start to get popular until a few years ago. But we're seeing an increased number of reports that are being shown to the poison control. All right, so I want to show you just a few images that I think will probably concern you. So this always concerns me when I put this up because this is scary. An individual was using one of these products and the device is, let's see, is there a little, there it is. Okay, see this right here? This is actually the cartridge that got shot out into the back of this person's mouth and hit their C1 vertebrae. It went through and hit. So here's the C1 vertebrae right here. You can see that it cracked it because of the power. And so if it went this way or this way, I do not know. Like this person somehow is alive. I do not know what their mental or physical state is, but I mean, this is going to be very traumatic. Taking one inhale of something and then all of a sudden it explodes and shoots back in your mouth is, I can only imagine how scary that could be. This picture, a 17-year-old was using the product, driving home. It exploded in his mouth. He lived in a rural area, so it took him an hour to get to the nearest hospital. This was in the June New England Journal of Medicine, and they talked about the case a little bit. He said that when he arrived to the hospital, that the doctors compared it to a close-range gunshot wound. That's how powerful these devices are. It broke his jaw here. Here there's damage to his teeth. In the back you can just see there's so much damage. These things are so powerful. Luckily, some of these people have lived. Unfortunately, there have been deaths because of them. There was a 21-year-old who was using the Juul, and the pod shot out and cut his carotid artery, and he ended up dying, I believe, on the scene. And you know, we always hear family members who speak out after these deaths, and they're like, I had no idea where they were using them. I had no idea that this was going on. If I knew that something could have been different. But unfortunately, it's hard to know if our kids are using these products. And once we do find out, sometimes it's a little challenging to know how to start that conversation. So I have a great resource in here about how to start the conversation with your kids, which I'll share, and then you guys can maybe pass that along to everyone as well. Yeah.
Are these injuries, is it because of the overheating, or is it a malfunction of the product?
So it could be either or, because none of these products go through consumer safety. And we have a lot of kids that also take apart the devices to then alter them a little bit so that they can get bigger smoke clouds. So we have kids watching YouTube videos, taking apart an unstable product and then putting it together again to make it even more unstable. So it could be malfunction, or it could be that aerosol overheating and pressurizing and having to go somewhere. Good question. So like I mentioned before, social norms are kind of reversing. Santa Claus here likes to say, I don't always vape, but when I do, I use Vapor Shark. So again, I'm not sure who this billboard is supposed to be for. I mean, is Santa Claus something that us as adults are interested in? Probably not. And then there's this wonderful old lady who, so she's not really giving the middle finger, but she's trying to say, hey, I can use this indoors, because none of these products fall under our smoke-free air law. These products can all be used indoors. So all of the hard work that we've done since 2010 to enact the smoke-free clean air here in Michigan, these products can be used inside, because our smoke-free air law says that things just can't be ignited, and none of these are ignited or lit. They're battery operated. So the bottom line is, these products are just not safe. So I know I list out people, and this is like almost everyone in this little thing, so it's just not safe, period. If you've never used these products, don't start using them, because there's major things that we still have a lot to learn about. So this is actually a 2016 consequence book, and I have it in my office, and it's like this big. So I can only imagine what the next volume is going to be like, because we've learned so much over the past couple of years. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what these other reports are going to come out for. But yeah.
Just curious on airlines, are they permitted on airplanes?
So no. So I've recently done some travel on different airlines, and a lot of them are now saying in their pre-takeoff speech, when they talk about cigarettes and not tampering, they say this includes e-cigarettes. So the scary thing is, though, is that they can go through in the airport, so through TSA, whatever. They just say don't put it in your checked carry-on bag, because a lot of these devices, and the reason why airports and airlines have been talking about it is because there was a case where someone had it with them in the cabin, and it actually started overheating and smoking and on its way to exploding. So they were saying just don't put it in your checked bag, because there's nothing we can do if it's in cargo, but if something happens in the cabin, we can take that apart, because if you pull apart the device, then you don't have the battery being overheated with the e-juice. But it's up to the airlines to put it in, so I'm not sure if all airlines include it in their there's so much we can do on a local level. You know, we can do parks smoke-free and e-cigarette-free parks, beaches, outdoor places. This is really important to me. So I think having a comprehensive tobacco-free school policy is something that would do really, really great. I'm not sure what our tobacco policy is here, but if you guys need help updating that, I have model policy language already written up, and it's easy just to kind of put into that handbook and then start enforcing and implementing. So just know that this is an option to do that. And then kind of just the last resource I want to leave everyone with today is this amazing program. It's called My Life, My Quit. And we are one of 9 states that were selected to have this program. So I'm very excited that Michigan is leading actually the states. I was just on a national webinar with the company, and they asked us to talk about what are we doing to make Michigan kids call in. And we're like, I don't know, we're promoting it and we're telling kids to do it. It's really cool and it's confidential and you know, it's free. And I think what's awesome is that kids don't usually talk on the phone anymore. They usually text, right? So the cool thing is that you can actually do your coaching sessions with a trained professional who knows how to work with kids. And they can text or do online chats. Knowing that on the website, mylifemyquit.com, when kids register, everything is always going to be monitored. So there's always going to be someone that will be in there. So if there's like forums, because a lot of time kids need that peer-to-peer support. So those like chat groups that are there, or those online chats or forums where kids are helping and supporting each other, those are always monitored so that we know that no one's coming in here like trying to cause trouble with our kids who are trying to quit. And once they go through the sessions, they would actually get a watermarked certificate of completion. So instead of doing suspensions, this could be an alternative to suspension, because we know that when kids are caught and if they're suspended, then most of the time they'll go home and they'll probably use these products again. They don't get any education, they're not getting any help. So thinking of like different ways to do those alternatives to suspension. I know some schools have been saying they've done like in-school suspensions, where then they actually have the kids do like an educational session where they have to learn a little bit more about the dangers of these products and nicotine and stuff like that. But kids created this program, so it is youth-led, youth-driven. You know, I think it's really great, and hopefully this is a resource that we can pass along to any of our kids that may want to get help, but maybe are a little nervous to come to you as parents to say, hey, I need help, or even at school if kids don't want to talk to their teachers or counselors. This could be something that you know, they might want to do because they know that there might be other kids that are going through the same thing as they are. So I keep saying one more thing, but something that's really important, I think everyone needs to know, is that the federal law in December actually raised tobacco age from 18 to 21, yay. So now on a federal level, excuse me, you have to be 21 years old to buy tobacco and e-cigarette products. However, in the state of Michigan, our state law is still at 18, so we still have a lot of work to do to raise up our state law. But what we need to know is that federal law always kind of trumps state law. So if federal law says that this is the rule, this is what our retail shops and anyone selling tobacco should follow. So it doesn't exempt anyone, there's no exemptions, and the law actually will penalize the retailers and not the youth, which is important. So a lot of the information I talked about tonight can be found on our website, michigan.gov/e-cigarettes. Myself and my colleague, we worked really hard to get this up and running in like June, when everything started kind of rumbling about all the e-cigarettes that was happening across the country. So there's fact sheets, infographics, webinars, things like that. Really great resources for you as parents. Great resources for schools. So I have a whole tab that's related just to schools that has a lot of great, lesson plans or different curriculums or different alternatives to suspensions, things like that I think would be really good. And then I also have a tab that's for like athletic staff, coaches, things like that. So things that they will have to know as well. So So I'm not really gonna go through the rest of these, I should say resources, because you guys can probably get that through, you know, when you guys will get these slides or however you want to do it throughout school. But Truth Initiative is amazing. The real cost is actually really good too. They have great ads and things for kids. And then, as I mentioned, a lot of great curriculums can be found on the Stanford Tobacco Prevention Toolkit. So they have amazing things that are put up there. A few more other resources. We have a quit line for anyone, but the My Life, My Quit is for those under the age of 18. So anyone over the age of 18 can call our Michigan Tobacco Quit line. So what I forgot to mention about the My Life, My Quit and the Quit line is that if you call, someone will always answer, no matter what time it is. So let's say someone decides, oh, like the weekend, like I was just at a party, oh my gosh, I want to quit, can I call at like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m.? Yes, they can call or they can text and they can get help right away. If someone does not answer, they will always get called back or text back within 24 hours. So we pride ourselves on of how quickly people can get in touch with resources and services. So this is just another way that we can do that. And my name is Carolyn again, and this is my contact information. So if anyone has any questions, I know I kind of overwhelmed everyone tonight, probably with a lot of information, but I thought that everything I talked about was super important, and I felt like I couldn't leave anything out, but I hope that you at least leave here tonight learning something new, and if there's, as I mentioned, any questions, please let me know, and I'm going to send over a specific PDF about how to start the conversation, one for parents and then one for school staff and stuff, because that might be something that could go out.
Yeah, and I sent this today, but I have copies up here about kind of our school response plan, and there is conversation starters and other resources there, so feel free to grab one of those too. I forgot to say that earlier. And they can grab any of your papers too,
Yeah,
right?
are there any questions?